Viewer discretion is advised.
My wife just stabbed herself. There's no pulse. There's blood all over the place. I was working and I heard her, and I went in there to grab her and everything just, I don't feel a pulse.
October 23, 2025. London, Ohio. A 911 call comes in just after 8 p.m. A husband says his wife just killed herself. Says he heard laughing then screaming from the bathroom. Says he saw her stabbing herself in the face and neck. Multiple stab wounds. Defensive cuts across both hands.
Ever since we responded to the residents up there, we've investigated this as suspicious from the beginning, and Mr. Long wasn't the only other person in the residence.
A woman who hours earlier was texting her best friend about a concert outfit. A woman who told her husband she wanted a divorce and he couldn't accept it. Here's the twisted part. Kyle Long had filed for divorce from Rachel just 4 months earlier. He started the process. But when Rachel actually wanted to go through with it, when she was ready to walk away, everything changed. Rachel Long didn't take her own life. Someone took it from her. And it took investigators 4 months to prove what her friends knew from day one. Kyle Long murdered his wife and tried to make it look like suicide. I'm going to walk you through every detail of this case, and I need to warn you. Some of what you're about to hear is deeply disturbing. But Rachel's story needs to be told. Look, I know you just got here, but throw a like on this video. It genuinely helps cases like Rachel's reach more people, and that matters. Alright, let's get into this. Rachel Long was 32. Born December 22, 1992 in Columbus. Graduated from London High School in 2011. She owned Perfect Pups grooming and boarding in downtown London, Ohio. And this wasn't some side gig. Rachel was a genuine animal lover who actively rescued dogs. She had Autumn and Clifford, and before them she'd loved and lost Omar, Coco, Neno, Earl, and Skosh. Every single one of those dogs meant the world to her. She'd been married to Kyle Long for 10 years. They had 2 daughters together, Ruby and Scarlett. 2 little girls who right now are growing up without their mom. Rachel was an avid reader. She loved going to rock concerts, heavy rock specifically. She'd actually introduced her friends to that music and they loved her for it. She had plans coming up. A concert with her best friend. Ideas for growing the business. A whole future she was excited about. And here's what destroys me about this case. The friends detectives interviewed said Rachel had never mentioned being suicidal or even angry. The night before she died, she was literally texting about what to wear to a show.
This was not Rachel. This was not the way that she would have ever handled a situation in her life. I mean, it's just not her.
Her coworker and friend Madison Myers was the last person to text her. Just normal stuff. Concert plans. Nothing dark. Nothing desperate. She wasn't spiraling. She wasn't breaking down. She was planning to leave her husband. She was excited about it. Making new friendships, looking forward to starting fresh as a single mom. And he knew it. But here's where it gets complicated. In June 2024, Kyle had actually filed for divorce from Rachel in Lorain County. He had a lawyer. He started the process. So what changed between June and October? Why did a man who filed for divorce end up killing his wife when she wanted the same thing? Because it wasn't about the divorce. It was about who had control. Thursday evening. Deputies get called to a house on State Route 187 in London for a reported suicide. Kyle Long told detectives he was in the master bedroom and heard what he thought was laughing, followed by screaming. He claims he looked into the bathroom and saw Rachel stabbing herself multiple times in the face and neck. According to a 911 call obtained by 10 TV, Kyle told a dispatcher that Rachel had stabbed herself several times while he was in the bedroom.
My wife just stabbed herself. There's no pulse. There's blood all over the place.
Multiple times. In the face. Think about that for a second. Picture someone doing that to themselves. Your survival instincts would kick in after the first cut. The pain would be unbearable. And yet he's saying she kept going over and over while he just watched? When first responders arrived, they found Rachel with stab wounds to her face and neck, plus cuts on her hands. She was already gone. During that first interview with detectives, Kyle admitted Rachel had wanted a separation from marriage.
Autopsy reports revealing at least 17 stab wounds and defensive wounds on her hands.
We never believed it was suicide because we had known that Rachel wanted to leave this relationship.
Brittany Maddox has been Rachel's best friend since middle school.
We knew that she was excited to leave. She was making new relationships and new friendships and was looking forward to her future as a solo single mom.
There's your motive. She wanted out. He didn't want to let her go. But the evidence at that scene, it told a completely different story than the one Kyle was trying to sell. The Montgomery County Coroner's Office did the autopsy, and everything Kyle said started falling apart. Rachel had at least 17 sharp force injuries across her body, including both hands. 17 times someone drove a blade into her. The coroner told detectives the cuts on Rachel's hands were defensive wounds. He was fighting back. She was grabbing at the knife, trying to stop it, trying to survive. And here's where Kyle's story completely collapses. The wounds contradicted his statement that Rachel only had the knife in her right hand. The injuries were on both hands. She wasn't holding a knife. He was trying to stop one. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation came in and determined that evidence at the scene showed a struggle between individuals. Not a woman alone in a bathroom. A fight between two people. One more thing. Investigators determined that from where Kyle told deputies he was standing, he couldn't have actually seen into the bathroom or closet. His whole, "I saw her doing it" story? Physically impossible based on the layout of the house. The forensics didn't lie. The autopsy didn't lie. Rachel didn't take her own life. Someone took it from her. When you hear about defensive wounds like that, injuries on both hands because she's trying to stop the blade, what goes through your head? Drop your thoughts below. Detectives weren't buying his story, but they had to be careful. They had to build an airtight case. They interviewed Rachel's friends, the last people to communicate with her before she died. A woman who was the last person to text Rachel stated that Rachel had never mentioned being suicidal or angry, and had been planning an outfit for a concert the following night. Just normal stuff. Plans for the next day. Nothing about wanting to die. Nothing about being in crisis. Then investigators pulled the phone records, and this is where things get really damning. Kyle had called 911, then hung up and called back 4 minutes later. Something he never disclosed to detectives. 4 minutes. What happened in those 4 minutes? What was he doing? And get this. The last text message between Rachel and her friend happened before the first time Kyle called 911. So Rachel sends her last text. Then Kyle dials 911 and hangs up. 4 minutes pass. Then he calls back and reports a suicide. What was happening in those minutes between Rachel's last text and that second 911 call? When detectives interviewed Kyle a second time, his statements didn't match what he said on the day Rachel died. He was changing his story. Contradicting himself. The walls were closing in. The coroner ultimately ruled Rachel's death a homicide. And the sheriff's office waited until every piece of evidence was locked in before moving. As Madison County Sheriff John Swaney explained, "We had to make sure, all agencies involved, we got those reports back and put all the evidence back and that they all align." But Kyle, still free, still walking around, while Rachel's daughters were trying to understand why their mom wasn't coming home. I cover cases like this every week, where the evidence speaks louder than the lies. Hit subscribe if you want more of that.
Deputies arrested Kyle Long near his home in London this morning.
Now, this comes more than 4 months after his wife Rachel Long died in October. According to court documents, Kyle told detectives it was a suicide. But as 10 TV's Carla Rogner reports, those closest to Rachel have long held doubts.
Rachel, a mom of 2, held a passion for animals, opening Pawfect Pups and Grooming in downtown London in 2017.
She was just kind and sweet and cared about everyone and everything, and animals were really important to her. So that is sort of how she found her career. It's always do what you love, and she got to.
On the morning of March 4th, more than 4 months after Rachel Long's death, deputies arrested Kyle Long during a traffic stop, after the coroner changed the ruling in Rachel's death to homicide. Kyle Foster Long, 35, charged with murder. He made his first court appearance on Friday, March 6th, where bond was set at $1.5 million. The case was bound over to the Madison County Court of Common Pleas. 4 months. 4 months of investigators building their case, making sure every detail was locked down. 4 months of Rachel's family waiting for justice. But they got him. For Rachel's best friend Brittany Maddox, the arrest brought something she'd been waiting for. Today felt relief. To be able to find the direction that we're headed, to get some answers on what happened to Rachel and to come to some sort of closure. The evidence is overwhelming. The lies didn't hold up. And Rachel's story is finally being told the way it should have been from the beginning, as a murder. So let's talk about that divorce filing from June 2024. Kyle filed the papers. He had a lawyer. He was the one who started the divorce process. But somewhere between June and October something shifted. Rachel was ready to actually move forward with the separation. She was ready to leave. Excited to leave, in the words of those who knew her best. And that's when Kyle changed his mind. See, when he filed for divorce he was in control. He made the decision. He held the power. But when Rachel wanted it, when she was the one walking away, that was different. That meant losing control. And men like Kyle Long don't handle that well. Kyle admitted to detectives that Rachel wanted a separation. She was done. She wanted to move on with her life, raise her daughters, run her business, go to concerts with her friends. She was making new relationships and friendships and looking forward to a new adventure as a solo single mom. And he couldn't accept that. This is the pattern in so many domestic violence murders. It's not about love. It's about control. It's about ownership. Rachel wasn't his property. But in his mind, if he couldn't have her, no one could. He had a concert to go to. He had dogs to rescue. She had daughters to raise. He had a whole future mapped out. And he erased it in minutes because she told him no. This is why leaving is the most dangerous time. This is why women don't just leave. Because of men like Kyle Long who escalate the second they lose control. If this case got to you, share it. Seriously. Awareness like this saves lives. Hit that share button.
I wanted to make sure, throughout everything, let's remember Rachel, who she was, what she stands for.
Holding candles and each other while wearing Rachel's favorite colors and sharing special memories.
She worked hard, loved her babies fiercely, and built a life she was proud of. She showed up for people even when life was heavy.
And she was so good to all of her customers. She was such a good teacher.
Rachel's business, Perfect Pups, is continuing. The people who loved her are making sure her work survives her. Friends and co-workers who knew Rachel say her compassion extended to both the animals and the owners who brought them in. Her family has asked that memorials be made to Stop the Suffering, an animal rescue organization, or to Perfect Pups. Even now, Rachel's love for animals continues. Ruby and Scarlett are growing up knowing their mom was a fighter. That she loved them fiercely. That she built something real. That she had a signature laugh that anyone who knew her will never forget. Kyle Long will face a judge. He'll face a jury. He'll face consequences. But Rachel's daughters will never get their mom back. They'll never hear her voice, never get advice on what to wear, never see her smile when a rescue dog finds a home. Kyle stole that. And no prison sentence will ever fix it. Rachel Long was 32 years old. She was a mom, a business owner, an animal rescuer, and a woman who deserved to live the life she was building. Her husband killed her because he couldn't accept the word no. Because he couldn't let her walk away. But investigators didn't stop. Her friends didn't stop asking questions. The evidence told the truth even when Kyle wouldn't. And now the world knows what really happened on October 23, 2025. If you're in a dangerous relationship, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You're not alone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for caring about Rachel's story. Drop your thoughts below and I'll see you in the next one. Rest in peace, Rachel.